First of all, we're going to be looking at the basics of SEO, why it's important, and the difference between what we call off-page and on-page SEO as well. We're going to be looking at the connection between social media and SEO and why those two things work so well together. We're going to be talking a little bit about keyword research, why it's important and how to go about it. We're going to be talking about how to write effective dynamic web content, and I'll cover what dynamic means as we go. And we're going to look at the backlinks. It comes with a whole load of kind of complications and sort of myths, and we're going to try and debunk some of those and talk about how backlinks can work in your favour and why they're important as well. And how to measure success. It's really important if you are spending time on your SEO and you're putting the effort in, how to see whether those efforts have been rewarded or not, and also some tools of the trade, some things that we use within the agency that you might find helpful to use yourself. Okay, so first of all, really basic stuff, but I want to go through this so we all know what we're kind of talking about here. I've taken this screen grab of the kind of typical Google display results here. This is a couple of years old actually, this slide, but it's worth bearing in mind. So this thing at the top here, that's the search bar, that's where we put the keywords in. In this case, I've typed in estate agent Sunbury-on-Thames, and that's what we refer to as the search term. This section underneath is the ads, the Google AdWords, as you may know them. These are the things that you can pay to have your website appear if people put in those kind of search terms. Underneath here, we have what's called the Google Local or Google My Business or Google Maps results. They show you the thing that Google provides basically for every single business. If you want to know how to get one of those for yourself, if you haven't got one already, then by all means, please ask me at the end. And what we're focusing on are the results below the ads. So in this case, what we're calling the organic results. So you'll see the ads there's 4 ads listed, and underneath there, we've typed in up here, Sash Windows Teddington, and it's this down here, Sash Windows Teddington Sashwise. This is the first organic result. So this is the first result that Google deems the most relevant for the search term that was put in at the top. So we did a search for Sash Windows Teddington, and Google deemed that this site here, Sash Windows in Teddington, was the first logical organic result. It is Google's job to show the 10 most relevant results on page 1 of its website in relation to the search term that we typed in. We take Google for granted because we're just used to it doing that for us, but it is Google's absolute sole purpose to show you the most relevant results that it can for the search term that you type in. You'll see here, underneath the other sections there, you'll see that these are the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th organic results and so on. Okay, a quick guide to what we're calling on-page SEO and off-page SEO. So on-page involves everything in relation to optimizing content, meta tags, and other elements on your own site's pages. So that's the content that you put on your site, that's the keyword optimization that you carry out, that's the images, the videos, how quickly your site loads, and how well your site performs, basically from an actual performance technical point of view as well. And then off-page SEO are the activities that drive awareness and referral traffic to your site from other sites. So you might have people blogging who link to your site. There might be social media posts that you put out or that your clients put out or suppliers or partners put out that link into your site. And then there's something called link building, which is like the sort of systematic process of making sure that certain links come into your site. We're going to cover all of these aspects over the next half an hour or so on this webinar. So on-page SEO, how fast does your website load and how does it perform on a mobile? 65% of all search starts on a smartphone. Doesn't necessarily mean it finishes on a smartphone, but we've all done it. We all look at our phones, things pop into our heads. We might be sitting on a sofa, we might be sitting on the train. We do searches for things on our phone. So how quickly does your site load on a 3G or a 4G or coming up a 5G connection, for example? You can do some tests, which will show you how quickly your site loads, and I'll send these links onto you guys later on after the webinar. But if you want to take again a quick photo of these or a quick screen grab or scribble now, these 2 sites, one will help you to see if your site is mobile friendly, and the other will help you to see how quickly your site loads on a desktop and on a mobile. Quite important factors. Things change as well. So, you know, it could be that 6 months ago your site was loading really quickly, but different things change in browser settings, different things change on your site plugins can be outdated or can be conflicting. So it's a good idea to check this stuff regularly. Don't take it for granted that if you've checked it once, it'll be okay forever. It's very, very rarely the case. So we'd recommend testing them regularly. Other aspects here are for your on-page SEO is to start your title tag with the main keyword for that page. So your title tag is the most important on-page SEO factor. It's your job to tell Google what your website is about. We take it for granted that Google just understands this stuff. Well, sometimes it can, but in general, it's the really, really good idea to ensure that you're telling Google exactly what your website is about. I'll use an example here. Before I come in, I met somebody at a networking event a couple of years ago who ran a recruitment agency who were based in Teddington. And he said to me, can you have a quick look at my website? Because we don't rank for the term recruitment agency Teddington, but we are the only recruitment agency in Teddington. I said, okay. So we looked at his site, and not once on his site did it mention the word recruitment or Teddington. So Google didn't know that his site was about a recruitment agency in Teddington because they'd made no real effort to tell Google that that was the case. We'll talk about use SEO-friendly URL structures. We're going to come back to that a little more later on. In theory, in general, shorter URLs rank better in Google. So try and bear that in mind. The URL, of course, is the address at the top. So our URL is thebrightclick.co.uk. But we're talking about pages within the site and keeping those page structures. So, you know, about us, services. Try not to go into too much length with those, especially because Google on a smartphone now likes to keep those in particular as short as possible. Here's a quick example. So a good example of it working here would be thebrightclick.co.uk/successful SEO strategies. If you had a URL structure like this, thebrightclick.co.uk/09/11/2017/SEO/SEO strategies, blah, 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 Google doesn't like that. So where you can, try and keep those URL structures as simple as possible. If you've got a WordPress site, which I know a lot of you guys will have, it's quite easy to do that within the page structure when you're setting it up, and we can tell you how to do that as well if you're stuck. More on-page SEO elements. Add modifiers to your title. So if you're writing about something particularly kind of relevant to what someone might be searching for, so a guide, a review, or perhaps the year, modifiers such as those are really helpful because they enable you to be more specific, to be more niche about what people are searching for. They can help you rank for basically what we call longer tail keywords. So basically, they are more relevant and less broad. They'll receive fewer searches per month, but there'll be better quality searches. So for example, here at the Bright Click, we could try and rank for web designer London, but it would be a little bit futile for us. You know, there's a lot of web designers in London, and technically we're not even really in London. We're on the outskirts of London. So for us to try and rank on page 1 for the search term web designer London would be hugely ambitious. It would be worth a try. There's 10 slots there. Someone's got to do it, but it would be hard work for us to do that. Whereas if we wanted to rank for WordPress web designers in Teddington, far fewer searches per month for that term, but we want to be number 1 if someone is searching for that. And we pick up a bit of web work probably once a month, once every 2 months for that search term, WordPress web designers in Teddington. So it's because there aren't many web designers in Teddington, there aren't many WordPress web designers in Teddington, so we've optimized our site to be found for that as an absolute, given as a bottom line. Using H1 and H2 tags for your headings and subheadings helps you to tell Google what it is that you want your site to be found for. So on our website, WordPress web designers in Teddington, on the web design page of our website, we have that tagged H1. That is saying to Google, this page, just so you know, is all about WordPress web designers in Teddington, because that's what we are and that's what we want you to find us for. Your main keyword should appear in the first 100 words of the article or the page. So on our WordPress web designers in Teddington page, we've got the words web designers and Teddington and WordPress all mentioned in that first paragraph, for example. And longer articles, longer pages are better. The more you can talk about a subject, the better. So 500 words gives Google every opportunity to understand exactly what it is that you are trying to say. Let's have a little look at keywords. Well, the first thing is you've got to understand your audience. What are your audience searching for to find your website? And what do you want them to be searching for in order to be able to find your website? That's Sounds obvious, but it's often misunderstood. Industry terms or layman's terms is a really good example. Estate agents use the phrase letting agent internally as an industry term, but the average person doesn't really refer to lettings. They would refer to rentals or property to rent. Had this conversation with an estate agent a few years ago where he said he didn't need any SEO help because they were #1 for letting agent in Woking. The thing is, no one was searching for letting agent. They were searching for rent my property or property to rent in Woking. We found out around 20 searches per month for letting agents, but about 300 searches a month for the term rental. You can use Google Keyword Planner to get ideas as to what search terms people might be using to find your business. If you just do a Google search for Google Keyword Planner, you'll find that, and it will actually give you ideas that you can type in, and then it will produce a list of other keywords that you might not have thought of that your audience might be using to find your website. Think about your ideal customer. What are they searching for, and how do they search for it? What do they type in to search for the things that you do? And something called LSI keywords, which we won't go into huge detail on today, but they help Google understand more about what you do and how you can help your website users too. It stands for latent semantic index keywords, LSI. It's the fact that with an estate agent, for example, there's only so many times that you can type, there's only so many times that you can optimize your website for the search term estate agent Teddington or estate agent Woking, for example. You can't kind of put, we are estate agents in Woking. Are you looking for an estate agent in Woking? You found the right estate agent in Woking. It's just spammy. It just doesn't really work for the user or for your brand. However, if you're talking about schools in Woking on your estate agent website, and you're talking about transport links in Woking on your estate agent website, that's a good way of getting in those extra terms, adding value to the user when they come, and again, helping Google to understand more about what you do, what you're offering, and that you're adding extra value to people who are coming to your website. LSI keywords are increasingly more important. Don't think too much about cramming in keywords for Google. Think about getting the keywords in for the user and what they might find interesting on your site. And the Google stuff will follow on from there automatically. I want to break down what we've been talking a little bit about page titles and H1 tags and that kind of stuff here. So I want to break that down a little bit for you in this screen grab here in this example. So the arrow that points to the top there, that's in the browser window there on Google Chrome. That is the page title. That's what appears up there. So that's what you can set in the background to appear there. Under here, this will be most likely, in this case, the H1 tag. Sash Windows Teddington here, that's what that page is about. It's about the fact that these are Sash Windows and that they're in Teddington. You'll see here the first paragraph underneath that H1 tag. It's got the word Teddington in there. You'll see up here, we've got a call to action. So here's a way of getting the user to take some action if they have found what they're looking for. We've got two options up here, get a quote and call the phone number. So these are things to be thinking about. If the user does find your homepage for the search terms that they typed in, how can they take some action when they get there? So you can see the simple structure for the search term Sash Windows in Teddington and how this page is well optimized for that search term, which is why when we looked a few slides ago, it was #1 on page 1 for that search term. Let's talk about dynamic content. So on your website, you will have what we call static content, the things that very rarely change. That will be things like services, about us, contact us. Those things stay static. They stay the same roughly all the time. Then you've got dynamic content, which is going to be stuff like blog posts or news articles. This is going to be one section of your site that's going to have sort of aggregated content that's going to change on a regular basis and probably be chronological. So the most recent article will be sitting at the top. Google loves dynamic content because it crawls your site on a regular basis. And if it finds something new, it goes, oh, okay, we found something new. What's this about? It shows Google that you're taking your website seriously, and it proves that you still exist. If your business had closed down ages ago, you wouldn't be putting content out on your site. If you think about what I said earlier, Google's job is to show the 10 most relevant results on page 1 for the search term that's been typed in. Well, it needs to know that your business exists. That's really relevant to Google. So if you put some content out in the last couple of days, what better way of proving to Google that you're alive and well? Your standard website will contain, on average, about 10 main static pages based on what I've just kind of talked about earlier. If you blog once a week, then in a year, it would contain 62 pages instead for Google to be crawling. In 2 years, that turns into 114 pages. So if you think about all the extra content that you can put on your site that Google can find, it's not only limiting you to 10 pages, it's expanding your site into 62 pages in a year, 114 pages in 2 years, and that's if you blog once a week. But to be honest, even if you blog once a month, that's better than nothing. It's a really good way of shoehorning in extra keywords as well without being spammy. So if we go back to those LSI keywords, if you were an estate agent in Woking, and you wanted to talk about transport links, and you wanted to talk about places to eat and drink, and you wanted to talk about schools, you could do those in a series of blog posts. And then you could link back to the relevant, buy, sell pages and everything from within the blog post. You could interlink between two blog posts. We're going to come to that in a little while. But you can get people sticking around on your site, reading articles, add value to the user. And it's really, it's a really, really useful thing to do. We try at the Bright Clip to write a blog post 2-3 times a month, and it's worked really well for us. Also builds knowledge and authority. It shows that you know what you're talking about. It gives absolute confidence to the user. When they land on the site, yeah, not only have we found this great content, it's proof that these guys know their stuff. And it makes your site sticky. So one big SEO factor, or two big SEO factors, are moving around the site, how many pages people look at when they come to your site, and also how long they spend on your site. These are good indications to Google that if someone typed in Sash Windows Teddington and then spent 4 or 5 minutes looking at various pages on the site and sticking around, they found what they were looking for. If they came straight off after 10 seconds, it's a good indication that the site wasn't relevant to the search term, so Google's less likely to show it going forward. If they stick around, spend some time, then it's more likely that they'll have, that they found what they're looking for, that they will stick around as a result. Okay, linking out and internally. So we touched on it then. Google likes to see you link out to related websites. It's because it helps Google to understand your page's topic. Okay, so there's no harm in linking out to another site to add a bit of authority. If you look around sites like the BBC, for example, they'll often link to external resources. It adds weight, and you are technically pushing someone away from your site, but you're saying to Google, I've got confidence enough in this article to link out to another relevant article on someone else's site to prove that this is the topic that this page or this article should be about. Google likes to see you link to other pages within your website because it helps the user journey. It helps if you've written something like Contact Us, it's a good idea to link to the Contact Us page from that. At the bottom of your article, if you say, for more information, contact us, use that word, contact us, to link to the Contact Us page. Don't leave anything open to the visitor having to second guess or think about where they need to go. User navigation is a high priority for Google. And again, if you take a look at Wikipedia as an example, the amount of internal linking is unbelievable. And that's what helped Wikipedia get to the top of the Google rankings for a lot of generic search terms. Keeps users on your site for longer too, reducing bounce rate, which we talked about just then. Video, it's so easy these days to make videos. It's much more easy than you think, and it makes your site sticky, keeps people on your site for longer, and it means you can upload them to YouTube as well. We use a tool called Animoto, A-N-I-M-O-T-O. You can make videos in half an hour. If you've never even thought about making a video before, you wouldn't believe how easy it is to use. And then, ta-da! You've got some video content that you can add to your website. People like consuming video these days. We're consuming more and more and more video all the time. As you know, you'd have probably found during the lockdown period that you're watching more videos than you ever have been before. YouTube is a search engine. In fact, it's the world's biggest search engine. Oh, sorry, it's the second biggest search engine, but it's owned by the biggest. So you've got two very, very powerful tools right there. YouTube isn't really ever thought of as a search engine. It's just thought of as a place where you go and watch videos, but actually you search for those videos. And when you search for videos by keyword on Google, it puts videos in the results because it owns YouTube. Very, very powerful place to be. Keep images when you're uploading images to your website. Make sure that you keep them light so that they're, make sure that they're sized and resampled so that they work as effectively as possible when your site is loading. Don't want to slow down your page speeds. So heavy images can slow them down. So do run them through a tool that will measure them, for weight before you add them to your website. Add alt tags for images. You may see sometimes when you're scrolling around on the site, the little yellow boxes that appear over images with descriptive text in. They're called alt tags. They are for partially sighted people using the web. If they're using a tool to read something back to them, when that tool hits an image, it will describe to them what the image is. Google absolutely loves that. It's really, really an important factor to make sure that all of your images have got titles and alt tags on them, and descriptive alt tags. The more descriptive, the better. Social sharing. You'll see sometimes at the bottom of websites, you've got share this on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, etc. That's really powerful. If someone shares your content, it creates an automatic backlink back to your website. Google absolutely loves to see that. It also creates organic traffic coming into your site. It gives you a bigger footprint of traffic coming into your website. And the larger the footprint, the more Google thinks that your site is important, the more authority Google places on your website. Let's talk a little bit then on that subject about off-page SEO. It's all about external factors. It's about inbound links that are coming to your site from somewhere else. Social media marketing is a really obvious place to start, because social media marketing creates that organic footprint. Like I said, if you can put great content on your social media channels, people share it, then people are discovering your website that wouldn't necessarily have previously known it exists. And that's pretty powerful. Social media has changed the whole SEO landscape. There used to be two really separate things, SEO here, social media here. Gradually, they're becoming more and more intertwined. Social bookmarking, we talked about there, having the links that you can put at the bottom of your articles. So, I mean, if you think about social media, right, search engines have been trying for decades to find a way to return the best results. So a website that is high quality and useful is far more likely to have links from other websites. It makes sense. It stands to reason. So the more mentions a website gets on social media through Facebook likes, tweets, pins, etc., and the more it's socially bookmarked and shared amongst communities of like-minded users, then the more targeted traffic it gets. So people stick around for longer and share the articles more. It's a snowball effect. It's a really, really positive thing. So, you know, we have a lot of people say to us, I don't want to be on social media because I don't want to see what this celebrity had for dinner or whatever. The fact is, having a social presence does directly affect where your website ranks on Google. It's a fact. We're going to talk about inbound links. One of the most powerful things you can do for an inbound link is to get a guest blog or a PR link back to your site. So find someone who's interested in what you do and see if you can blog on their website. So, for example, you know, a local an estate agent might say to a school, you know, I'd like to blog on your website about like, you know, the local area or something along those lines. You know, there's lots of angles that you can find. Say, for example, in the gym community, you could have a guest post. You know, a personal trainer might guest post on a website that sells weightlifting equipment. It's a good authoritative piece that could link back to their website and boost their authority and give them a strong backlink from a powerful place. Directories. There will be loads of directories in relation to what you do and what your business does. There's the obvious ones like, you know, sort of Yell or like, you know, Google My Business, Bing Places, all of those ones. But if you do a bit of searching around, I mean, in the legal industry, for example, there are stacks of directories that are categorized in how to find different solicitors for different things. There are website directories, there are local business directories, there are little nubs and hubs that you find in towns. I know in Staines, where I live, there's a very effective local directory where you can apply just to have your business listed. In Teddington, there absolutely is, teddingtontown.co.uk. So think about places that you can get your business listed. Directories are handy, by the way, not just for the authority and for the backlink, but also for the traffic. You know, if people are looking for a service on a website and they find your website, they'll come along and have a look. That gives you the traffic as well as the authority and the link itself. Thing is, though, link building was a very easy way to manipulate the search engine algorithms, and spammers eventually began to take advantage of that a few years ago. So I could create a site called, you know, bestwebdesignersintheworld.com and just link to my own website from it. And then I could pay other web designers to come and have their site listed on bestwebsiteintheworld.com. And then I could create another website called evenbetterwebsiteintheworld.com and link to their websites from there. And in the very early days of Google, It wasn't about the quality of the backlink, it was about the quantity. The more links coming into your site, the higher Google ranked you, because it just felt that, well, the most links coming in, that must just mean that that site is important. It's got a bit smarter now in recognizing what we call black hat techniques. So it introduced 3 massive updates. One was called Panda, one was called Penguin, and one was called Hummingbird. I always get them mixed up, Panda and Penguin, but one was about content and whether the content was relevant, and one was about backlinks. There was a very, very famous casualty of the Panda and Penguin updates, which were Interflora, the florists, who had built a massive presence on Google through these black hat techniques over many years. Links from all over the world, dodgy links, spammy content that was all about getting the user to come to the site, but not really about the benefit to the user. And when Google released Panda and Penguin over a couple of week period, Interflora just dropped off the face of Google. And it was actually what we call sandboxed. It was put into a place of Google that no one can reach. And they had to beg to be allowed back, and they had to rebuild their website. They had to do something called disavowing all the dodgy backlinks. And it took them a long time to get back. And Google made a real example of them. So SEO, if I could give you one little nugget of information right now, do things by the book. Do the things that Google wants you to do. Don't think, oh, I've got a smart idea. I spoke to someone a couple of months ago who said, could we just put white text on a white background so that Google reads it, but the user can't? No, you can't. Google knows when that kind of thing's happening. Just play by the rules and Google will reward you for it. It's about doing the right things across the right period of time and consistently just doing the things that Google wants you to do. The minute you're thinking, maybe I can catch Google out here, you can't. It's way too smart for that now, way too smart. Okay, so something here about inbound links. My bullet points didn't really come up in order. So again, keep everything natural. Don't try and force anything. You don't pay for links. You shouldn't have to pay for a link. Some directories might charge you an annual fee to be listed. That's reasonable because they are doing the legwork for you. But if a blogger wants you to pay to be on their site, it's a fine line. It's a fine line. If it comes across as natural and you think it does, then maybe. But personally, I don't think that paying for links is a good idea. If Google finds out you're paying for links or you end up being linked to from somewhere dodgy, it can sandbox you, just like Interflora. Good SEO, as I said, is about doing the right things consistently. Link exchanges are not bad. They're not bad things. So if you say to someone, I'll link to your site from my site and you can link to my site from your site, there's no harm in doing that from a traffic perspective, but it has no SEO benefit. Google aren't saying, yep. They're not saying, no. They're just, they don't really care. If you think it's useful to link to someone else's site, then go ahead. It certainly won't do you any harm. Sometimes you might want to do something called a no-follow link, which is where you tell the search engine not to count that particular link as a vote of trust. So you might want to link to another website, but just say, look, I'm doing this just for pure, business purposes or to help a friend out, but I'm not doing it to try and win Google points. I'm just doing it to be nice. As a rule of thumb, you should add the no-follow tag on all of your external links that go to pages that you cannot trust. So if you did link out to a site, for example, or you've got blog comments and that type of stuff, banner ad links, no-follow is the safest option, just in case. Social proof. We talked about it earlier on. Google loves to see social proof in much the same way that it loves dynamic content. If someone lands on your site from a social link and spend some time there, it tells Google that they found something interesting, and if they share that content, it's even better. Google likes to see a broad range of traffic, as we covered. Social is a key enabler of this. Getting all of your traffic from one place doesn't give Google confidence in the same way. So car dealerships have a real problem with this. They get so much traffic from Auto Trader. Just a huge amount of their traffic comes from one place. So having social media accounts for automotive dealers is really important, because it just enables them to get a slightly more organic approach to everything that isn't just all coming from the obvious place of Auto Trader. Google recognizes your brand across the web. You might not realize this, but the BrightClick website, when we've linked out to our social platforms from our website, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google can see when the BrightClick is mentioned on all of those places. It can spot the BrightClick across the web. It also spots when someone leaves us a review somewhere, or when someone mentions us somewhere. So All of those things are really important. Don't think it's just about your website in terms of your brand. Think about your brand across all of your social channels. Think about how that comes across. Make sure that your website and your brand is represented in the best way possible across as many platforms as it can be. How do you measure success? Well, Google Analytics, obvious place to start. It won't tell you everything about keywords. It keeps a lot of secrets, but it will tell you how long people are spending on your site, how many pages they're looking at, how much traffic you're getting, which of the pages are more popular than others, for example. The entry pages that people come to your site. So you don't always think people come into your site from the home page. If you've got a really well optimized internal page, there's a very good chance that someone's coming in through that page. People come to us all the time at the Bright Click through our web design and development page. They didn't go to the home page. They typed in web design as intended to, and they found our web design page. They came in that way. We can tell that by looking at Google Analytics and seeing where those entry points are. You can sync Google Analytics to AdWords as well, so you can differentiate between the AdWords traffic and the organic traffic. Google My Business. Okay, so Google gave every single business in the world its own free little mini website. You find that in the map section, in the local section. If you just type in Google My Business into Google search and follow the prompts, you can have that set up in the next half an hour. And if you go onto Bing or Internet Explorer and type in Bing places, you can set your Bing places up in the next half an hour as well. And what that does is it finds all the local searches for your business. It's a free tool, very, very underutilized. If you've got any questions about Google My Business, feel free to ask them at the end of the webinar, or drop me an email. You can use tracking numbers to measure success. So put different phone numbers on different things. So use a phone number on your website that you don't use on your business card, for example. So if the phone rings on a certain number, you know that it came from the website. You can buy tracking numbers online really easily. They're quite cheap. They're about a tenner a month for 5 or something like that. And you can just put those numbers on your site, and then you can divert all of those numbers just to come to one phone, but you'll know who is calling you from where. My dad told me this story years ago. He was a business consultant at one point, and he was doing some work for a carpet guy up in Thetford, where they lived. And he was spending £5,000 a month on advertising, but he wasn't making any money, and he couldn't really figure it out. He was doing well, but he couldn't really figure out what was coming from where. He had an ad in the local paper that he swore was bringing him all the business, and because since he'd had the ad in the paper, that's when he got really busy. So what they did, they put a tracking number on the ad in the local paper, and they put a tracking number on the little card that he had up in the newsagents. And a month later, not a single call had come from the ad in the newspaper that was costing him £5,000 a month. And the free card in the newspaper window, that's what was generating all of his business for him. So tracking numbers can be really, really helpful. Device activity is really important to measure success as well. How many people are using a mobile? How many people are using an iPad? How many people are coming to you on desktop? If you find that 90% of your traffic is coming on the mobile, then really focus on that mobile content and really focus on your mobile appearance on your website. Taking information from inquiries, phone or email. Sounds really obvious, guys, but just asking, where did you hear about us when someone called you? Just to know, if they say, yeah, website or Google, then you know that you're doing a good job. You wouldn't believe, by the way, how many random searches we get found for online. I took a call on Friday last week from somebody in Ilford who typed in a very niche thing into Google and found our website and then called me to discuss it off the back of it. It's really odd, but it just shows you how powerful that is. Okay, I'm going to touch on this quickly. When to use Google Ads. So sometimes SEO just isn't enough. You can try your best. You can try and optimize as much as you can, but the bottom line is that there are sites that are well established and are just too far ahead of you, or it's just too competitive. So if SEO turns into too competitive, that's when you might consider AdWords, because you can get yourself up and running nice and quickly and get found for those keywords really quickly, literally within a day or so. If you want to convey a certain message or offer, you can put something out on your website, but the search engines might take some time to index that or properly pull that through. If you're using AdWords, you can put something out there quick and easy. So if you've got like, you know, if you had a lockdown offer, you could put that on AdWords right now and people would see it straight away. It would take some time for that message to completely filter through from your website, for example. If you want to be found for a broad term locally, so for example, if you just want to be found for the term estate agent, that's very broad. But if you radius target AdWords and say, look, only show these results within a 5-mile radius of my business, if someone just searches for estate agent, within a 5-mile radius of your business, you can show your ad. Quite a powerful thing to do. If you want to compete for competitor terms, not everybody likes this, but if you want to rank for somebody searching for your competitor. So if I was a Toyota dealer in Twickenham and I wanted to try and get some of the Ford Twickenham traffic, I can get my ad to show for when someone searches for Ford Twickenham. I can get my Toyota ad to show, for example. Dog eat dog. You know, some people kind of do it and some people don't like it, and some people do it because it's been done to them already. It's, you know, it's up to you. If you want to send users to various parts of your website with site links, so Google Ads gives you kind of 6 options underneath its main ad. You can just divert people straight to different parts of your site immediately from the results. It can be quite helpful. That brings us to the end of the webinar, guys. So just to let you know again, so the free SEO audit, https thebrightclick.co.uk/free-SEO-audit. That will give the performance audit of your website. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation. There's no hard sell or anything like that at all. And if you did want to set up a call with me to have a chat about that afterwards and see what results you get and how we might be able to point you in the right direction, there's an option to book a slot in my calendar from there and book a half-an-hour call with me. I'll chat you through what you need to do, how it might work and all that kind of stuff. So please feel free to do that.